The next speaker to me is a real inspiration. She is a woman that has started on her own. I've heard her speak before in front of a nonprofit group, and I was very moved. She started an organization called A Just Harvest. She has 3 mission statements, or 3 ways of accomplishing what she wants to do on this planet. One is that she feeds hungry people. She helps people that need help with food through Just Harvest. She also makes sure that the laws at least are fair. She's very much for fair justice. She's a community organizer here in the city of Chicago to make sure people are treated fairly in the legal system. She has also started an organization, or a spin-off, called Genesis, isn't that right? Genesis, and that's to help people get back into the system, get jobs, start their lives over. It's a great community effort that she has done. She speaks at schools. She speaks at anything where she can get in front of a crowd and talk about her organization. You know what she is? She is the type of person that I tell myself every day, as soon as I have time, I'm going to do what she does. As soon as I'm rich, I'm going to write a check to something that she does. As soon as I have the ability to go ahead and do something that she has done and give to the city as much as she has given. Not that, certainly not that Barbara hasn't, Greg hasn't, because they have. They do light up a room when they walk in, and I love talking to them, and I love hearing about them. But this person has really put the rubber to the road. She has really done it. She has brought the city a great organization that is admired. Her website's incredible. It is admired around the world for what she has done. Chicago is so lucky to have her. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Reverend Marilyn.
Thank you, Vince. And thank you for everyone here tonight, and thank you for Marilyn for hosting us, and Greg for connecting us back together again. I really appreciate it. One of my favorite quotes by Merriam Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other persons won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. That's sort of my mantra. In my mission statement for myself. I've heard it said that every preacher is given one sermon to preach, and mine is that everyone would know that they are a child of God. And actually, I just started a church, and I named it Namaste. Not because I'm Hindu, I do like yoga, but not because I'm connected. I've had people ask me, is your congregation Indian or anything? No, because Namaste, the divine in me acknowledges the divine in you. And there's other ways of thinking about it, but the whole point is that if we were to really live that way, imagine just how different the world would be. Now, I didn't always experience that. And Vince asked me to kind of get personal, so I'll get personal. I didn't always experience that. I came from a broken home, domestic violence. Actually, I was kidnapped by my dad when I was 4 and was raised by him. In a not too bad environment, but there's tragedy even that to be taken away from your mother. And ran away, was hungry, had children, all that stuff that could make people go, oh. Because I wasn't told that I mattered. And I wasn't told that I had worth, and I wasn't told that I was a child of God. I was just some white trash's daughter. I was the child of a drunk. I was, not 100% Latina, so I didn't belong here and I didn't belong there. And then I ran off and had babies by a black guy. So I mean, all these labels put on me and sort of my self-worth being stomped on everywhere I went. Until I ended up in a group home. And the ladies there loved me. And they saw my potential. And they saw that I was a leader. And I was running that place within a month. And I was telling everybody else what to do. And my leadership was nurtured. And my ability was acknowledged. And my giftedness was called out of me. And I said, when I grow up, I'm going to do that for somebody else. Of course, it didn't happen right away, right? It takes a while to grow up sometimes. But I did. And I do strive to live my life in such a way that I call out the gifts of the people I encounter, and I affirm their worth, and I see them as a child of God so that they too can be lights in the world. And so when I was called to seminary, I was like, man, I don't want to be in a church, I don't want to be confined to these walls, and my image of church was very tiny. But when I realized that can be a place where power can happen, where transformation can happen, I don't talk about sin and I don't tell people what they should or should not do. I talk about the love of God and how each of us are called to do something great in the world. So my church became more the city of Chicago. There's people on the street who call me Pastor Marilyn who've never stepped in a church and never heard me speak at a church. Because the whole intent is that everywhere we go, we have to be in connection with one another. I don't run around hitting people over the head with the Bible. I don't proselytize. I speak to people from any faith tradition. It's about that love of who we are as created people, all of us. So I try to translate that into the work that we do at A Just Harvest. Let me just say that I didn't found that organization. It was 20 years old when I walked into it, but it was a soup kitchen. And it was called Good News Community Kitchen. What I did help to do was transform it into an anti-hunger organization and rename it. And I am the first director when we became a nonprofit. But I just want to speak that truth out there in case somebody watches this who did actually help to start it. And so, the intention was, we do need to feed people while they're hungry. We have to really care and make sure that no child goes to bed hungry. But we cannot, and I am not content, satisfied, or okay with the fact that we have to exist in a world, in a nation that is as rich and wealthy and supposedly the world power as we are. Why are people hungry? Why, after 20 years at that time when I came on board, are we still here? Something's not right. So we began to engage in community organizing. And that's where my passion comes from. How do we begin to sort of let people know, you might be here, and you might be on food stamps, and you may, be collecting unemployment right now because things are tough, but you still have worth, and you have a voice, and you have a right to demand those, quality housing and a good education for your children and safety in the streets, and how to begin to get people together to sort of own that power that they have. And it's not about a give me, or I want. It's about how do we create a culture, a society, and a place where we all live in community, and that we acknowledge that if I don't do okay, you're really not okay. You might have a bigger house, but then you also have a bigger fence around that bigger house. So how do we make sure that we're all okay? So we began actually our 10th year of organizing. I'm very proud of that. And we are really about building power collectively. Not power over, not power against, but a power collectively that acknowledges each other's worth. In that work, we realized, okay, people need to work every day. I'm talking to the gangbangers on the corner. I'm talking to my own children who, started acting all crazy. And they would say, Mom, we need a job. Fine, we do want to stop selling drugs. My kids are getting older, I want to take care of them, but I need a job. And they kept saying, we need a job, we need a job. At the same time, everybody else who was college educated didn't have a felony background, and everything was crashing around us. So everybody was looking for work, and here these young people with all these barriers were going against these same folks who didn't have the barriers for the same kind of jobs. So we began to figure out how do we create an alternative economy, one that isn't sending our kids to jail. How do we take those gifts that they have to stand on the corner every day or to hustle and turn that into something positive? How do we say, what you're doing is getting you in trouble, but you can do what you do in a good way and begin to make a living for yourself and for your family? And that's where we created the Genesis Project. And we really are about transferring skills and not telling them that they're starting with nothing, but starting with what they already have. and beginning to just speak life into them, because these kids in particular, you know, haven't been told that they matter. They're told when you stop, then you'll matter. When you get your GED, then you'll matter. If you get out of trouble, then you, and we have to tell them they matter right now. Otherwise they won't stop. Otherwise they won't seek to change. Otherwise they won't begin to see that their life has value, that they can do more than go in and out of the prison system, and in and out of trouble, and in and out of, you know, relationships that aren't healthy and that kind of thing. So that's kind of the work that I do, but it came from my experience of being, at one point, not being told that I mattered, to a time where somebody right in the right moment handed me that envelope, Vince, and I opened it. And I open up envelopes all the time now. And I believe that it's my responsibility to speak that life into somebody else and into another room, and all of us. The work that we do at A Just Harvest, we do in partnership from day one. It was one church connected to another church to make those dinners happen. Now there's over 45 members that are part of the institution that make the work happen. We cannot do it by ourselves. When I talk about fighting against poverty and hunger, I don't just talk to poor folks, because you know what? It's not about fixing those poor folks. It's about fixing a broken system that has allowed people to be hungry while others get wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. And it's not about pointing our fingers to those who have wealth, but it's about creating a system together where we know that our seniors are choosing between life-saving medication and food, where our veterans are coming back so destroyed that they can't get a job and they're in the kitchen because they're hungry. It's about really looking at this community and rebuilding it together, reimagining it together without pointing fingers, and together creating something brand new, and because we can see that light within each other. That's the work we do, that's the work that I do, and that's my story.